Hey, what's up? This is Akita here. This week we're looking at some sweet brands who combine that technical outdoor gear aesthetic with fashion. Guys who are moving much more in that streetwear, techwear kind of direction, but still staying true to and still keeping some of those references from the hiking or from the outdoor gear world. In similar fashion to the Arc'teryx gear that we looked at last week, this is all stuff that's equally appropriate in the city and in a more rural location too, so is definitely something that could be styled alongside your typical urban techwear kind of gear. In short, it's going to be perfect if you like these kinds of looks, but want to be a little bit more interesting than wearing the same North Face puffer jacket as everyone else. We're going to be looking at 7 different brands here, from relatively well-known to pretty underground, and a whole variety of price points as well. So hopefully there's going to be something for everyone here. Of course, with all this stuff, you're going to need some sneakers to match, and that is where Keen come in, who are very kindly the paid sponsors of this video. So thank you to them, and for sending over some of these Ridge Flex sneakers that we can take a look at as well. I've got the Maximum Hiker colorway here, but they come in a few other flavors if you've got a more monochrome preference as well, and there's a few different models too. Important thing about these is they are actually designed for performance, and the big innovation here is these bellows that you'll find over the toe box. That means the shoe can flex a lot more easily, so less energy being used up, and it's a lot better resistance against that potential point of failure. Nice chunky outsole is going to go great with all your technical hiking gear, and these feel pretty solidly constructed as well, thanks to that environmentally preferred leather here over the upper, and you got recycled PET as well. Best believe I've given these a spin already, and yeah, I thought they went great with my Antwon Leve Orion pants, the green ones, and they were very comfy on my little hike as well, so what more could you want? Oh, they are water resistant as well, because you know we love splashing around in puddles over here. If you want to check out Keen's range of bellows flex stuff, then get yourself over to their website. There's going to be a link in the description if you want to go have a look and see which option is your favourite. Now let's get ourselves fully kitted out, and the first one I'm going to hit you with is a Japanese brand with an amazing name, Comfy Outdoor Garment, because if you pick something up from these guys, that is exactly what you're going to be wearing. The intersection of performance-derived, fashion-reworked clothing is plain to see here, and they feel like a brand that don't take themselves too seriously either. Some of these oversized shell jackets look super fun to wear, I think, and even the logo is kind of pretty cute and a little bit whimsical. It looks like an obvious subversion of performance gear with those big oversized silhouettes, which are just different to what you would traditionally see from one of those performance-only kinds of brands. They feel like something that exists in that space somewhere between And Wonder with the kind of new age technical stuff, and a brand like Goopy Made who really go all in on the super wide silhouettes. But existing in that middle ground and the really nice colour palette that they're putting out with their FW21 collection gives them a potentially wide appeal, I think, and the ability to be worn alongside a whole bunch of different brands. You could definitely pick up like one of the shells or the pairs of pants or something and wear it with almost anything and not really have it look out of place. We've talked about And Wonder many times on the channel, but because of this topic, I couldn't not include them here. I think they really do continue to nail that obviously technical, performance-focused look, but with a clear emphasis on fashion too. And that's with a combination of like super technical looking, ready for anything shells and jacket combos, and far more casual options as well. They are fairly expensive at retail, but often you will find retailers will put this stuff on sale at the end of the season, so you might be able to grab some discounts and some fairly nice prices there. These guys really have the potential to be worn in that urban techwear style. I think you can obviously see that with the variety of monochrome outerwear products that they do, but they've got loads of bold prints and more fun stuff as well if you want to go more in that kind of hiker, retro, fun kind of direction. So there's quite a lot of things from this brand that are worth experimenting with or worth looking at for different reasons. How long is it going to be though until I finally rock up in the full And Wonder fit? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If you're thinking more affordable examples of this stuff though, and not necessarily waiting for sales, then have a look at Ashfire. This is a brand new brand. SS21 is their first collection, and you'll find this on Inshadower, which is the same website that you'll find those more affordable techwear brands like Inshadower and Catstack as well. And that means that these guys have the prices to match. You're looking at $50 to $60 for anoraks and shirts and stuff like that, which is frankly a lot more palatable than some of the other designer hiker fashion brands. I thought their lookbook was super cohesive, and although they're not necessarily breaking any new ground, they have a fairly clear handle on this kind of look. Just remember, if you're browsing this, to change the currency to US dollars, because whenever I don't mention that, someone is inevitably like, what the hell, Antwon, this stuff is like $1,000, you said it was cheap. And of course, the same site has a bunch of more traditional techwear stuff, if that's more your style. It's the same kinds of things that you will find on those techwear dropshipper websites, but cheaper because you're going directly to the source. This jacket is their most expensive thing at $138, but I think it does a great job of showing how the same piece could work really nicely in urban technical outfits and the more hiker style of thing as well. And it's got some big explorer energy, especially with those pants as well, making the full combo. Really nailing it. Helly Hansen are in some ways a bit of a different brand to the rest of the guys on this list because they are very performance focused, I feel, making gear specifically for skiing and sailing, those kinds of areas where water resistance is key. But they have a specific archive line. They're planning another for FW21 in a similar fashion to the recent North Face Steep Tech collection. This stuff is called the Aegir collection. It's originally based on competitive sailing gear, but given a little bit of an update for 2021 with a clearly more aesthetic focused look to it. That's clear from the lookbook alone, which is quite heavily stylized and lots of layered looks which are very reminiscent of how people often style techwear clothing. In fact, there's definitely some resemblance here to the older Nike Lab ACG lookbooks, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was used as a bit of a reference for this lookbook. Anyway, that stuff doesn't come out until September 2021, so there's a little bit of a wait for that, but some of their mainline stuff is perhaps worth a look as well. It falls into a similar kind of ballpark to Patagonia or North Face or Arc'teryx, but never really picked up the same kind of traction among fashion enthusiasts that those brands did, for whatever reason. Another lesser known example is Meanswhile, who have been around since 2018. They're another Japanese brand, and they very much have the philosophy of clothing being a tool. They say the purpose of design is to enhance the functionality of these tools. As these tools transform and adapt with wear, they in turn personalize each individual style. If that sounds like some techwear ideology to you, then you're right on the money. Technical, utilitarian clothing is definitely the focus here, with a bit of a mix between oversized, boxy things and some more flowy, drapey stuff as well. You'll also see they often bring those performance elements to the forefront visually, so you'll see a lot of oversized pockets and draw cords and things like that, right the way through to these color contrasting gaiters on some of the outfits. If that's not an obvious example of this outfit is designed to go and do stuff, then I don't know what is. There is some experimental functionality here too. This bomber, for example, has this kind of double-fronted thing here, which by default looks quite oversized, but you can remove this central panel and have it do up like a more standard bomber jacket, and that extra bit of material can then become a neck warmer. So one piece of clothing with a few different bits that you can mess around with it. That sateen finish too gives it a little bit of a luxury look and definitely differentiates it from the various 3-layer performance fabrics out there. So I think, yeah, visually, texturally, and in terms of those details at an individual level, a lot of these pieces of clothing are quite interesting to look at. So it would make a great kind of standout or attention-grabbing piece in an outfit. You might have heard of small independent manufacturer Nike, but their ACG line is another one of those ones that I just couldn't ignore in this video, even though many members of the community are likely familiar with it already. Since the death of Nike Lab ACG, rest in peace, the focus has really been on slightly playful, retro, hiker-inspired gear, which brings lots of colours to the table with some light performance features too. It's not too outrageously priced either. I feel like over time the Nike ACG line has been getting stronger, and this season I thought had some really cool looks that they presented before the collection released. This line also feels more legitimate and more fleshed out to me now since its reintroduction post Nike Lab. The first release did feel a little bit like, I'll get some funky colours on a windbreaker and a couple of logo tees and call it a day. It was almost like a bit of a pastiche of 80s and 90s hiker gear, whereas now, there's a bit more authenticity to that. It feels like they're trying a little bit harder to still make references to that retro stuff, but actually kind of provide their own interpretation on that too. And this Wizard Island tee is just so fun and over the top that I couldn't help myself from picking it up. This is a bit of a safe option in that there are no individual pieces that are really wacky or super head-turning or unconventional or anything like that, but for that reason it could make it a good jumping off point into this kind of world and be worn in a fairly non-committal way. One final option is Mountain Research. This is another Japanese brand. It just seems like the Japanese have a great handle on this kind of look. And while it might sound like Mountain Research is the most technical of all of these brands, like, yes, we've been studying the mountain for years now and this is what we've come out with. Actually, the reality is much more of a streetwear and gorpcore hybrid than anything else. Loads of graphics and text, more so than the other guys, and a lot more emphasis on hoodies and tees and stuff like that, and a little bit less on the outerwear stuff, although of course they still do have their water-resistant jacket and pants combo. It has more of a retro look in general than a futuristic one, so in some ways is a bit of an opposite number to Antwon, although they definitely still do have some common elements in there as well. This is another brand that at retail is fairly expensive, but end of season discounts may see some fairly chunky amounts coming off retail there, so it could be a good opportunity to pick yourself up a bargain and something that isn't particularly well known outside of Japan. One thing in fact that did give them some exposure was a couple of Reebok collabs last year. So they had the Alien Stomper, which I covered in a video a while back and I thought looked super cool, and a more recent Club C as well, with a pretty minimal and clean black and white rendition with the brand's logo on there as well. It's another one which feels quite easy to integrate with streetwear and provide that immediate reference to that hiker aesthetic that's quite popular at the moment, without needing to, go all in on this style or start taking 10-mile hikes every weekend. You just want to look like you do a little bit. 7 brands here, plus Keen, who I think could fit in really well with a lot of this stuff, all taking inspiration from similar kinds of places and using those kinds of functional elements and performance elements, but then putting their own twist on it and injecting some of their own personality to create things that ultimately are fairly different while still having the ability to be worn quite nicely together. I think for that reason everyone's going to have their own opinion on which of these is the coolest or could fit in with their wardrobe best at least. So keen to hear what the most popular one is down there in the comments. And of course, if you've got any personal experience with any of these brands, then definitely include that as well, because that's going to be super helpful for everyone watching and wanting to give some of these brands a go. And if there's any brands that you think I missed off that I definitely should have included, especially once you start including brands like Helly Hansen, that's a whole nother subgenre of clothing basically. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it useful in some way, please do give it a like because it is super appreciated. And thank you so much for watching, and of course we will be back next week with another video. Shout out to everyone that commented on the anime hair in the last video. Still waiting on that haircut. Thanks UK lockdown, it's going to be another couple of weeks yet, so you better get used to this. And if you notice the background being a little bit bare, that's because everything is going, I'm moving somewhere else, so next week is probably going to be a totally new background and environment. That's also why I'm hand holding the mic this week, because the room is so echoey that I wanted to be a little bit closer to it. So hopefully I didn't have any mic recording issues with this one, but yeah, we'll hopefully be back to the regular kind of setup next week. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more, there's going to be links going up at the top. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then you should definitely consider doing so, because we've got more cool techwear videos every single week. Definitely keen on maybe picking up some stuff that I featured in this video. So if you want to see a more in-depth look at some of these brands, or maybe one in particular, then yeah, let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's everything. So peace out.